Have you ever been in a financial storm? Well, on today, we're going to talk about steps to getting out of a financial storm. I want to welcome you to Arise and Build here with your girl, Yakinea Marie. And I have the distinct honor and privilege of interviewing an individual, which so happened to be my husband, that's going to walk you through steps to getting out of a financial storm, but as well, he's going to talk about how to never get in a financial storm if you have not done so. So, how are you doing today, babe?
I am doing amazing, Queen, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to be here with you and to share some financial principles that I believe will just bless your people and just open the door and sharing some things that I've learned over the last 30 years or so that I know will seriously be a blessing.
So, I'm curious to know what I know when we were talking and I was asking you, what do you feel led to speak on? What led you to speak on this particular topic? Help my mind, not my mind. Help! I am in a financial storm.
That is a great question. With today's uncertainty in the financial markets, with the threat of the tariffs, with AI replacing people and jobs, nowadays what I have discovered is this: like people are on a financial quicksand, and that's not a good place to be. So the financial principles that I'm going to share will help you to navigate that. And the most important thing is that not only will you be able to survive the financial storm, but this financial principle that I share with you will help you to will position you to thrive during the financial storm.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing all of the goodness. So I know you have 9 steps, 9 keys that you want to talk about. So what is step number one?
Sure. Well, before I get to that, let me mention also a little bit more about some statistics that I read the other day. 50 to 60% of Americans do not have $1,000 in their savings account or checking account in the event that they have some type of financial emergency. Other interesting stat that I showed said that 65% of adult Americans do not, or should I say, are living paycheck to paycheck. What that means very simply is that in the event that they have or miss a paycheck, that would cause them to have a financial challenge in their life. And so these 9 principles I know will be able to help people not to go through a financial storm. And if you find yourself in one, it helps to get you out. Because one of the things that I also discovered is that people are going through 3 different situations. The number one is that they are going into a financial storm. Number two, they are coming out of a financial storm. And certainly last, they are currently in a financial storm. I think that those situations apply to most people. And what we're going to do is show you how to get through it.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes,
Have you ever been in a financial storm?
I have been in a financial storm. And I developed these principles from me the last 30 years or so, studying very wealthy people. I had the privilege of being in the company of individuals that was worth $100 million, and even had the opportunity to be in the presence of someone who was a billionaire. I spent the whole day with him. So these principles are something that are timeless. These are principles, something that anybody can use if they apply them. And I have applied them in my life over the years and seen some great results.
So I want to ask you this because one of the things, one of our goals here at Arise and Build, this is our podcast. This is our very, first of all, let me say this. My husband is my very first guest. So this is our very first episode of Arise and Build where I am actually interviewing a kingdom-minded individual. This podcast will spotlight individuals who love the Lord and God has called them in the marketplace to either build businesses or to lead people as leaders or ministerial as well. Okay. And so one of the things I'm excited about on this podcast is our goal is to be real, raw, and relevant. Okay. Real, raw, and relevant. So I'm asking you this question because these principles are very powerful. And that's why I wanted to know. I'm glad that you said yes. I've been in a financial storm before because there's nothing like teaching from experience versus just from a book, a good book you read, or a good seminar that you have gone through, but it's because you've been in a financial storm and you've used practical principles to bring you out of that financial storm. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. Let's talk about number one.
Awesome. Well, the very first financial principle is a financial audit. So, what is a financial audit? In this case, what we're going to do is that we'll take for granted that you are in a financial storm. So, the first thing that I would suggest you do is take a look at all of your expenses, all of your bills. You can very simply take a sheet of paper and write them down. So, now what are we looking for? We're doing an audit. For instance, you can write down things or take and check off things such as if you, for instance, have a Netflix subscription. You can put that on one side of the expense column. If you have things that you have not used in the last 6 months that you're paying for monthly, put that on the right side of the column. What you're looking to do very simply is that those things that you're not using or have not used in the last 6 months, you are looking to cancel those. Now, before you get mad with me, because you'll have other chances to get mad with me during this podcast. But before you get mad with me on the very first principle, what I like to say is that you can cancel these for now, because keep in mind, we are going into a financial storm or coming out of financial storm. So what we need to do very simple is that we need to make sure that you get out of it, or if you are about to go into it, we're going to navigate to make sure you do not get into a financial storm. So when you hear me say cancel your subscription to Netflix, cancel your subscription to HBO Max, cancel your subscription to other things, that's only temporary. Once you get out and you get on a financial great standing, you obviously can add those back. So don't beat me up just yet. We got 8 more to get to. So don't beat me up on the first one. So the first thing is a financial audit. We're going to audit and see where your money is going.
I almost got attitude with you. No, just okay. That's great information. Great information. Number two. What's number two?
All right. So number 2 is for you to develop a spending plan. So what is a spending plan? It's commonly referred to as a budget. So here's why that's important. Interesting enough, most people have no idea where their money goes. Their money comes in, and before the month is out, all the money is gone. They can tell you where it went. So we want a spending plan. So what will we do with the spending plan? And you can make it very simple. What I suggest very simply is that you receive your paycheck. Let's say if you receive $1,000 for your paycheck. And what you're going to do before you spend one dime is that you're going to take and spend it all on paper. What do I mean? What I mean by that very simple is that you're going to take, and let's say if you got $1,000 and you're going to spend 10%, you're going to give that to your local church. So 10% of $1,000 is $100. So now you got $900 left. Out of the $900, you just if you had your card payment, and it's $200. So you're gonna write down every single expense or every single thing you're gonna spend that money on. So at the end of it, you should have $0 left. Here's why that's so important. Because now what you're doing is that you're telling your money where to go, versus most people, the money comes in, they have no idea where it's going.
Let's stop right there. That's powerful, because you said telling your money where to go, and most people don't have the wherewithal. And can you, if we can be honest, I was not raised in a household where they taught us how to balance a checkbook, what savings meant, what checking meant. You see what I'm saying? And I didn't really start doing that. Now, I was good with money anyway. I grew up in the projects, so once I got out of the projects, I just didn't want to, you know, live a certain way. So I just started saving money, but I really didn't learn I didn't learn how to strategically build my financial acumen until I was in my 20s. When I started getting introduced to certain books and certain people. So how can a person who's never been around anybody or anyone showing them that step over into a place where, let's say, they're hearing you for the first time?
Well,
And in their mind, you're saying take responsibility of your money, but they don't even know what that means.
okay.
You know,
Yes. Well, first off, one of the things I believe in is that there comes a point in time in personal life, and many years ago, God gave me this quote that says that people will never change until the pain of staying the same causes them to change.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, very simply, sometimes we have to go through some stuff. I remember the civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer said that people have become sick and tired of being sick and tired. So once a person becomes sick and tired of being sick and tired, then they will make the change.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, very simply, you take a sheet of paper, you write down how much your paycheck is, how much you have coming into the household at that point in time that hit your bank account or however you get paid. And then you take and write down every expense that you have that's going to come out of that paycheck. And at the end, the last column or the last line should say zero. So now what you have effectively done is that you have told your money where it's going. And so you can set it aside and categorize things such as if you're saving for things such long term, hey, I want some furniture. So I'm going to set aside some money for furniture. Or I plan on going on vacation. So let me set aside some money for vacation. It's a matter simply of you deciding where your money is going versus you saying, where did my money go?
I think that's a conversation we'll be having. I just be want to take a vacation. You're like, you put money to the side for that?
That's right. That's right.
Like you put money to the side for it. Okay, so what's number 3 and what's number 4?
All right. Well, number 3, this here is where some people gonna get upset with me. So I'm gonna go ahead and preface that now. Number 3, what we have to do, keep in mind, we're coming through a financial storm. Number 1, we talked about the financial audit. Number 2, we talked about developing a spending plan. And number 3, you have to dump that debt. That's right. You got to dump that debt. So here's where I'm going to lose some people at.
So are you saying we can't be in debt, or you just saying, okay, go ahead.
Great question. Can you be in debt? My suggestion is no debt, no consumer debt. Here's the reason why, very simply. Once you understand.
You said no consumer debt. Is there another type of debt?
Well, if you own a business, you can have business debt,
which
is typically what's called non-recourse debt, which means that it doesn't affect you personally.
Okay.
But going back to a consumer debt, here's the reason why. Once you understand money talk, the principles of money, you understand that interest either works for you or it works against you. So what I mean by that very simply is that either you are receiving the interest, meaning that you're charging someone interest on the money that you allowed them to borrow and they paying you back your principal plus your interest, or you're paying interest to somebody. Most of the time, most people are paying interest to someone, whether it's to a bank or whether it's to automobile lender or whatever the case may be. So debt in that particular case will make you a slave to it. That's why in the book of Proverbs, it says that the borrower is slave to the lender. Mm-hmm. So in this particular case here, you want to dump the debt. So how are you going to dump the debt? First off, what you're going to do very simply is that 2 principles. The first one, and this is where I lose some people at, is that I suggest you cut up or get rid of your credit card. All right. Okay.
All of them?
All of them. Stop using them. You cannot get out of debt while you continue to pile on debt.
So what you're saying is you can have a business credit card, but a personal credit card, you prefer for you to use your debit card, is what you're saying.
That's correct. And the reason being very simply is that, and of course, I know we're talking about you have a business aspect of it, but number 1, we're going through a financial storm, and most people probably don't have a business, which is a different segue. But in this case, from the personal perspective, I suggest not having a credit card, cutting up your credit card, and now what you want to do is pay off all that consumer debt. So one way of doing that is doing what's called a snowball effect. What you're going to do is you're going to list your smallest debt all the way down to your largest debt.
That's David Ramsey strategy, right?
Well, that is a strategy that he has taught, yes. And you're going to list your smallest debt all the way down to your largest debt. So you're going to pay off your smallest debt and continue to make minimum payments on all the other debts. Once you get the smallest debt paid off, then you take whatever minimum payment you're paying on that one and you go to the second debt and pay it off. And the reason why I like that principle called the snowball effect is that we as human, we have by us doing something great, releases in our brain called dopamine. Dopamine gets us excited because what we want to do is stay the long term and get all this debt paid off. So now you're going to list it from the smallest to the largest and pay off the debt. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have a mortgage that would be the last thing that you pay off, mortgage on your house. But all the other debt, I want you to get it gone, get it paid off. Because once again, we're looking to come out of this financial storm. So we're going to dump the debt.
Okay, dump the debt. And then number 4.
All right. Number 4 is it's important that you now establish an emergency fund. As I mentioned earlier, 50 to 60% of Americans do not have $1,000 in their checking or savings account for emergency. So now what happens very simply is that when you don't have that set aside, whenever emergency come, and let me say that it's not a if it's going to come, it's when it's going to come, then now the natural progression is for you to fall back into the trap of going back into debt. Now, this is when people you see rummaging through the trash can trying to find that credit card so they can use that credit card. And now they mad with me and say, well, why did I listen to that guy and throw away my credit card? So by you having some money set aside, the first aspect I would say is let's work on saving at least $1,000. That's called a mini emergency fund. Typically, whatever emergencies that one will have, whether you get a flat tire or whether it's a situation by which something goes out at your house, typically $1,000 will cover that repair. So start a mini emergency of $1,000. And ideally, we want to have a fully funded emergency fund, anywhere from 6 to 12 months emergency fund. And depending on, as we revamp things, depending on the economy, you may want to have a little longer period of time. So in terms of emergency fund, just think about it. Just imagine this here. Well, I talked about this financial quicksand, jobs, people being laid off from their jobs or being cut back on their job. So as you imagine something happened, you laid off from your job, but yet you had 12 months worth of living expenses set aside. Now that takes the financial pressure off you in terms of how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to take care of my family? So the next one, as I mentioned, which is number 4, is for you to develop an emergency fund of at least $1,000.
Okay, that's good. And as you was talking, I was thinking to myself, what about multiple accounts? Because I know, like us, we have more than just an emergency fund account. We have multiple savings account. Not trying to let y'all in our business, But anyway, but it's good to have an emergency fund. But don't you agree that they should have, whether it's an account for future investments, as an entrepreneur, savings account for potential retirement. We're not going to retire though. Okay. Is it what I'm saying? So don't you agree with having more than just an emergency fund? But I guess they should just start off with an emergency fund if they don't have anything.
Yes. Keep in mind, what we're talking about at this stage is that someone who's in a financial storm. And just imagine if you're in a storm, you're not trying to figure out 15,000 different things.
Yeah.
Your objective simply is to survive. And so in this particular case here, we are trying to get you from the survival state to financial foundation.
That's good.
Once you got the foundation, then we can come in and fill in and build out everything else. But we want to get you out of this storm, because it's not. And anybody who's been in a storm or even come out of a storm knows that when you're in a storm, it does not feel good at all. So we want you to be happy. So we want you to come out of the storm.
Yes. It's good now. There's some good stuff. I didn't know our first episode was going to be on money. But that's all my husband like to talk about. Okay, so
money.
Stay safe. All right. So number 5 and number 6.
All right. So awesome. So we have number 1 done the financial audit. We have developed a spending plan. We have dumped the debt, and we have established an emergency fund. So now what we'll do very simply, and to me, number 5 is a lot of fun, is that we're going to multiply your income. That's right. You need to make more money. You need to make more denario, moolah.
Make that money.
Yes, that's right. Make that money. And so here are some suggestions in terms of make more money. First off, let's say why make more money. Understanding that the wages here in America has been stagnated for the last 20 years. So in order to have more money, as Queen was talking about earlier, to be able to invest, you actually need more money. So at this stage here, step number 5, we're going to multiply your income. So now what you're going to do very simple is 2 things. The first thing is that whatever craft that you own now, or whatever it is you do, you want to double down on it and get good at it. So now what we're going to do, and let's say, for instance, you are a cook. I just use that for instance.
Mhm.
You are a cook, so you want to double down, become the best employee cook that where you work at has. And by you doing that very simply, what ultimately ends up happening is that you become irreplaceable. So now let's fast forward. You have done step number 1. You have become the best cook ever, the best employee ever. You always show up on time. You show up before time. You're the first one there. You're the last one to leave. So now you have done that. Secondly, what you want to do is that you want to utilize that skill set that you have and create what I call a vertical income.
Mhm.
What's a vertical income? What most people do very simply is that they work, using an example, as a cook. And what they do very simply is that they may get a part-time job and they may work the part-time job as a janitor. That's not a vertical. What I mean by vertical income simply means that what you're going to do is take your skill, in this case, you're a cook, and you're going to create an opportunity, something you can make money around based upon what you're good at, what you have been working on, what that skill set you have. Let me give you some examples. You are a teacher, for instance. Instead of you going to work part-time as a janitor, why don't you tutor? So just if you're an English teacher or you're a math teacher, so now you're going to tutor kids. Or better yet, what about creating an online course on how to become better at mathematics? You put it online and you sell that. What we're looking to do now is that have a situation by which you're not reliant on one income. If you rely on one of anything outside, of course, having one spouse, I throw that in, get some cool points. Outside of only having one, if you have one thing, then you are at a financial risk. And so you don't want to be at a financial risk. You don't want to get up and then all of a sudden fall back down because you only have one source income. So now we're looking to multiply income, have multiple sources of income. And once we do that very simply, that helps us shore up our financial house and get us out of the storm much quicker.
And I'm glad that you said that. And I'm going to say AND. And in addition to that, since I have a special heart in my place for entrepreneurs. And so I want to speak to those individuals who are in the marketplace of any such. I mean, regardless of what you're doing in the marketplace, you may not want to go off brand right now, but they don't have to go off brand, right? They could be let's say for instance you are an author, right, and you could teach somebody how to do something in your book, but then you could take that book, turn it into a workbook. You could, a workshop. You could take that workshop, you could turn it into a conference. You can take the conference, you could turn it into a group coaching program, a individual coaching program, a retreat, a mastermind, a master, whatever the case may be. But it's a many ways that you can multiply your income as an entrepreneur. Okay. So as we begin to wrap up, I know that we have 6 through 9. So what's 6 through 9?
Okay. Number 6 is this here is my absolute favorite.
This the most important one. Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes. Number 6 is to partner with God. What's meant by that very simple is that now you in this financial storm. So you obviously, and I am a believer, my wife and I, we're a believer. And so as a believer, we obviously believe in praying to God, but partnering with God on your finances. What we do very simply is that we are big givers. We believe in taking money, and we're going to call that seed, and we sow that into the kingdom of God. So I thought one of the best feelings I would have would be very simply making money. But what I have discovered, the most exhilarating feeling I ever had is giving away money, blessing someone financially.
Yes.
I know early in the year, we had a couple of friends who were great. They're great pastors of a local church here. And my wife and I, we met them for breakfast. No, it was for lunch. And we actually sold into that ministry because they're doing some great things. And we was in a financial position by which we was able to write a nice size check to them. And you should have saw the tears flowing from their eyes. And so just imagine, as good as they was feeling, I felt a lot better than they did simply because of giving. So partner with God, Meaning very simple, be willing to give away some of your money and watch that it comes back to you 100-fold. So that is number 6. And as we get into number seven is for you to invest for the future. You talked about investing, invest for the future. Now you're making this money. Take some of that money. Now what you're going to do very simple, with you on solid grounds, you're making money. You're going to take this money and invest in things such as the stock markets, or if you're into Bitcoin, or if you're into real estate. Now you're investing for the future, for the long term. So now that's number 8. And finally, number 9 is, as you're in the storm and things become difficult, you should never, never, never give up.
That's good. And what I love about what you closed out with is never give up, no matter what it looks like. Yeah, my philosophy is, if you have breath in your body, you have the opportunity to begin again. And so I thank you so very much for being with us on today. I know I'll see you tonight and tomorrow and the next day and the next day as well. But I bless God for your mind. I always tell you that you're a genius, and I appreciate you so very much. What I want you to do is this right here. If he said at least one thing that resonated with your spirit, one thing that you could take away, I want you to comment below. That one, which one of those principles out of the 9 principles that stuck out to you and resonated with you? I want you to comment below. Let us know, because I read all of the comments and I'm excited to read your comments. Okay. If you have not already subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe, to like, and make sure that you share this with somebody else, because you just never know. They may be going through a financial storm and they desire to get out. So, in closing, what last thing would you like to share with our audience here on Arise and Build?
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you for having me. And I overheard, maybe you sleep when you said this, is that you was gonna pay me $1 million for doing this podcast. That's what I thought I heard. And so I
You
was
were dreaming.
Oh, I was dreaming.
You were
Okay,
dreaming.
all
You were
right.
dreaming.
Well, what I like to leave with your people, your beautiful people, is that I would like to leave you with this poem that I read. It said, the 2 most powerful warriors are patience and time. The 3 C's of life
Nice.
are choices, changes, and chances. You must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. So with that, to everyone out there in podcast world, be blessed, and I'll see you at the top.
When I tell you patience and time, that's like going to school to be a doctor. Patience and time. Listen, thank you for watching episode 1 of Arise and Build, here with your girl, Yakinea Marie. And I know that my husband, my king, Michael Amado Adul'Ali, shared something with you to help you get out of the storm, the financial storm, right? And to stay out of that storm. Make sure that you join us next Monday on Arise and Build.